Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. Okay, universal basic income. Elon says this is something that will eventually have to happen. In the past, disruption has often added to jobs, despite how worried the labour force is of any change when it comes to new machinery or robots, that they'll eliminate jobs. But they often end up adding more value onto what an employee is worth, as they now have the ability to leverage their labour further with said machine. But we've not seen disruption like this before, i.e. Tesla. Just for argument's sake, let's say that Tesla's robots become what we're all hoping, then it is possible that this time, demand for human labour will actually suffer, and possibly by a significant amount. Now, mission number one of a government should be to keep citizens alive, even if they don't have a job and not paying taxes. Of course, we have seen mismanaged governments in the past that resulted in tens of millions of people dying of famine. But if there are no jobs available because robots keep taking them, then how can you get any work? Yeah, it's tough. I mean, what jobs are even available? Are people still interested in the arts? Can a robot write a novel as well as a human? Okay, so let's just assume that robots has reduced demand for human labour in a big way. There are very few jobs and a lot of people end up on welfare. This is something governments have been trying to stop for centuries, banning all sorts of machines or adding regulation to prevent revolution of new products that can result in mass unemployment. If no one has jobs, then they might revolt. But what can governments do? What if there is no hope for citizens to earn more than welfare? Well, this is when universal basic income is quite possibly necessary. But how do governments pay for that? If so many people have lost their jobs, then government has also lost the tax that they would have had otherwise collected. No jobs, no tax. How do you pay every citizen in a nation with no income? Well, governments would need to find income. Perhaps they'd look to corporations. Well, corporations are struggling now too. If no one has any income, then no one is buying much either. Just the basics for survival, shelter and food. Besides, corporate tax just ends up being passed on to the consumer anyway. They can try and tax the rich, but there really is very little you can get from them, especially relative to what is required. It's not even close to an avenue worth exploring. An economy works if there is production and consumption, and we use money to allow these activities to circulate through the economy. If we don't have money, then there is no economy. Just like in an engine, if there is no oil, it will stop working. So can governments just print the money and give it to the citizens? Well, no, that doesn't work either, as whenever anyone spent anything, it would go to the company that sold the product, which would in turn have to pay Tesla for the robot. Right, I believe Tesla would not sell their robots, but hire them out and own the labour market. Why sell something for $10,000 that is worth $20,000 to $100,000 a year? Anyway, if government just kept printing money to fund this, it would just continue to reduce the value of the currency. Besides, at this stage, we're likely using Bitcoin as a currency, as the government's probably killed their currencies, which means governments don't have control over monetary policy, which they shouldn't anyway. I mean, an economy like this is no good for anyone, individual, government, or corporation. But if we're at this stage with robots, then Tesla have likely ramped up to levels we can't comprehend when it comes to transport and energy too. Tesla is saving up for their own energy storage, solar, and robotaxi fleets. Tesla will have enormous energy farms and battery farms, and almost every household should have solar and battery too. Okay, let's just take a quick step back here for a second. What else has occurred? Deflation. Everything has deflated, as the cost of energy and labour is now so much cheaper, and with batteries and auto bidder is able to be distributed so much more efficiently. Transport is autonomous, there's no labour and no fuel, so much of the economy can be run at absolute minimal cost, all coming from the sun. You see, every day the sun gives the earth more than enough energy to run, especially if we're able to bank this energy into batteries. Okay, so the cost of everything is really cheap. We have robots to farm for us and vehicles to transport things for us. The problem is, any money spent in the economy inevitably ends up in Tesla's robots, energy, or transport business. Tesla would just suck up all the money. Sure, Tesla might start paying dividends so it goes back into the economy, but Tesla shareholders aren't able to spend that much wealth to put it back into the economy efficiently. The money gets stuck. We can create our own energy with our power wall and resell that back to the grid and hire out our Teslas and earn more money as a robotaxi. But not everyone will have a Tesla, and everyone may not even have a power wall. And besides, your home solar system might only make enough energy that your house needs. How do we offer universal basic income then? Well, I think if Tesla has also dominated the labour market too, then it'd be morally right that Tesla is the one that offers universal basic income. Don't look to the governments, they won't be able to help, they won't even understand. It would be the responsibility of Tesla. And as Elon is an advocate of UBI, and it's his company that made so many people need it, then it should really be Tesla that offers it. But Tesla is not a money printing machine, well, not literally. They are an energy printing machine though. They could give everyone something like 5,000 kilowatt hours of power every month, which can then be traded into autobidder. Tesla's solar farms might be able to create enough energy for everyone to go around. Tesla will have enough money to do this, although at this stage we're even past the word money. It's a new paradigm, a new economy, an economy of more abundance rather than scarcity. In fact, the economy itself becomes almost superfluous. The reason for an economy is to economize due to having such scarce resources, and that is what economies try to do. Make the world more abundant, find more efficient ways of doing everything. This is why life is so much easier today for everyone than it was 100 years ago. Well, in a couple of decades, it might get that much easier again. Imagine in 50 years' time when people look back and talk about the olden days and what it was like. Oh, you wouldn't believe how bad it was. Just about everyone had to work 5 days a week. Reducing the amount of required labour is how an economy evolves. It wasn't that long ago when children and the elderly still had to work. Okay, sure, over the last several decades it has gone in the opposite direction, especially with more women entering the workforce, and people still not earning enough to live on with dual incomes. But this is because Nixon took us off the gold standard. But labour is still much more efficient, easier and safer today with the machines we have invented to help. Okay, please don't be too pedantic about all of this. I'm sure there are plenty of loose ends here that I haven't mentioned. It's just a 10-minute YouTube video to make you think. I'm not attempting to solve global poverty that simply. My point here is that it may be Tesla that has to offer UBI, and I've mentioned a few reasons as to why. But what does a UBI world look like? Well, hopefully it doesn't have the same effect welfare had and increased crime rates. Hopefully due to such a deflationary economy, there is plenty people can do. Global travel may be cheaper and faster than ever with the likes of Hyperloop. Food might be the best ever thanks to robot chefs. But if we had universal basic income, it would mean that everyone has the time to follow their dreams. Any entrepreneur can take as long as they need to get their business up and running, rather than for just as long as they can afford. All the entrepreneurs will have a huge demand of new products wanted to keep people busy in their lifelong retirement. They have the luxury to take their time to deliver us inventions that were not possible before, especially when these inventions are facilitated by AI and robots. Artists can spend all the time they need exploring their fields, rather than having to work a job. And of course, those who simply don't want to work, don't have to. I mean, isn't this the dream of where we want humanity? But there needs to be enough activities and entertainment to keep people busy and stop them getting bored, or we might see spikes in crime. Of course, we need healthcare too, but hopefully that's been totally disrupted with genetics or neural net, that everyone can afford healthcare. The elite may not want this in the future though, even if their lifestyles are much better as a result too. They won't be able to feel as special if everyone else is able to do what they can, but it might be out of their control before they realise. Governments are becoming more antiquated. It's probably time to move on to a better system. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.